Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Yolanda Arrey titled As Long As You Want Me or Joy. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a new album from Yolanda over here. We've got the art up on the screen here, released as of the 27th of November, so extremely recently. So if you like this song today, feel free to go check out the rest of the album via the links in the description. But we're going to listen through this opening track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it.
Baby, as long as you want me, I'll always be your girl. Baby, as long as you want me, I'll always be your girl. Joy, 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 joy. I know, baby, you still love it, baby, baby. You give everything, you give love and more, baby. I know about you. You said love into me, baby. I'll be everything you want me to, baby. As long as you want
Charming.
me, I'll always be your girl. Baby, as long as you want me, I'll always be your girl. Joy, 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 baby. You give love into me, baby. You give everything I need. Baby, as long as you want me, I'll always be your girl. Baby, as long as you want me, I'll always be your girl. Baby, as long as you
Great key
want
change there.
me, I'll always be your girl. Joy, 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 joy,
Fantastic. Great introduction to Yolanda's work. I reviewed some of the music before, but we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And so welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Yolanda Arrey, titled As Long As You Want Me or Joy. In this section, we're going to talk about a few things that I liked about the track, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my overall thoughts on it from a general listening perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think this song is a celebration of the love that they feel for someone else and the appreciation they feel for how that person loves them. And it's a celebration of the unity and the hope that they have for a future together. Just that unconditional kind of, that closeness, that faith that they have at each other. They're shouting it from the rooftops, They're what each other needs, and it's just something they're incredibly happy about. And so I think to start an album like this is a smart decision. It kind of makes me think as a listener that we're going to be exploring other angles of that. I feel like that's just a really nice welcome thing in this day and age where a lot of music is very dramatic, and this just seems like it's going to be a good time. One of the things that I feel is done very well here are the vocals. They are the focal point for this. The instrumentals are very much kind of backing and for prominence for the most part. They're very supportive. There aren't really any other lead layers aside from Yolanda and Center. But I feel like we just have so much distinct kind of wonderful coloration on the sides with the various vocal harmonies there. The way they kind of rise and fall, legato, ascending sweeps. There was one part in particular where we explored our entire vocal range. It was tremendous, going up, and then we're kind of like, it was like a bird, like a really graceful bird flying through the air and kind of doing little kind of twirlies. It was incredible, and I think that kind of hope, that fluttering of emotions, maybe replicates the feeling that they have when they're in love with this other person, the love that they feel for them. There's so much warmth in it as well. It's grounded as well. We don't take the listener's attention for granted. There's a lot going on on technically with it. Like they're really proficient as a singer. But then there are also moments where it's a little bit more sort of constrained, I think, in order to allow the main parts of the vocals or the lyrics or the hook lines kind of to be heard there. They emphasize with chorus or sort of like backing vocals to get it stuck in the listener's head. So that's it's a tour de force. Really happy with that. And I think if you're unfamiliar with Yolanda's work, you would be incredibly sort of like happy with this sort of point. But it's also, I think, the relative minimalism of the parts behind it. We have clapping in some parts to set a sense of mood there. So percussively, you have parts on the drum kit as well, but it is relatively subdued. It is primarily to facilitate a point of movement and contrast for when the drums aren't there. There's like a kind of a shuffle on the hi-hats there with a swing kind of groove there that makes it seem almost like a dance. Like we're incredibly lively about it. And we do actually have some drum fills, some snare and tom parts around like the 135 mark, for example, that to kind of reintroduce us to the rest of the motif. But again, it's just allowing maybe even like an occasional call and response to then go back to the story being told as being the most important thing. And you have these kind of like interesting sort of like backing synths, which are very much sort of sub-layer kind of harmonies there and low, and they're kind of like boxish and kind of like they kind of pulse but in a very sort of gentle way. The bass is nice and rounded and low and reinforcing the vocal harmonies or melodies as well as the chords imminent within the progression. I think there's also some keys as well there that are just some nicely accented and illustrate or sort of show the sense of where the progressions are going next. There's just so much room even with those different elements for Yolanda to do whatever they want to vocally. They don't try to overshadow at any point. And so I feel like, yeah, it's just a great sort of definition or segmentation between those two in a way that is not detrimental to the overall listening experience. Finally, I think that the key change that we had at the end there, it's not the first time I've heard a key change for the last time through a chorus, but I think even within a 2-minute 22 track, you're not taking the listener's attention for granted. You're saying, hey, we're going to go rise up further than this. You thought we were already kind of excited. Boom, we're going up another level. And I think that's really clever because it illustrates, hey, that you don't know how good this is going to get. It's a major overtone to a lot of it. So it's, again, as I've said, it's a celebration, but for it to kind of go up a level insinuates it go up more. And you just get the feeling that it just ends in a way that's very sort of satisfying. The resolution makes you feel like they're in a really safe, comfortable, cozy place. So ultimately, I feel it was the vocals as well as like the minimalism of the instrumental parts combined with the key change in the structure of the piece that I feel it were highlights for me. There's no applicable constructive critique here. I feel like in the shorter form factor, if this was like 3 or 4, you might have needed to add other instrumental layers or a different like sort of lead section to kind of continue to keep it intriguing unless we're going in different directions with the story. But I feel like we made the use of the real estate, so no worries there. From like a general listening perspective, I think I got a really good understanding of how well Yolanda can sing, as well as the love that they feel in the set, how much they appreciate that, the connection they have. It'd be interesting to hear other different instrumental arrangements and sort of combinations, but I also feel like it'd be very satisfying if it was an album of this, simply again because of the major leaning. It's nice to listen to happy music. But ultimately, yeah, it's just great to return you to Yolanda's work and to hear this first track off of what seems to be a really promising album. So I wish them all the best of luck for the release. But thank you very much for watching my review of this track from Yolanda Arrey titled As Long As You Want Me, Joy, off of the album with the same name. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and Spotify and Apple Music pages, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SPRX. Spiderhands out.